Hello, this is your Algebra 1 weekly preview. My name is Melinda Williams, and I can be reached at extension 28762 or mwilliams10 at mesquiteisd.org. This video will cover the week of September 19 through 23. The unit is graphing linear functions, and the TEKs covered are A3A, B, and C. But before we get into the lesson, let's take a look at each of the TEKs and see how they're tested on the STAR. A3A is a supporting standard. It has been tested 5 times since 2017, which is 1 time per test. A3B is a readiness standard and has been tested 12 times, or 2 times each test. A3C has shown up 14 times since 2017, or 2 to 3 times per test. Altogether, you'll see 5 to 6 questions for this strand of A3. It is highly likely that there will be some 2.0 questions from this. Because of the frequency that it shows up on the STAR, these are one of the strands that are giving us our biggest bang for our buck to teach it. So let's take a look at how they appear on the STAR. A3B is a readiness standard and is talking about the rate of change through multiple representation. Here's one released item, is giving the table and asking for the rate of change. Another, it's giving the table a graph and asking for the rate of change. Notice on both of them, they say rate of change of y with respect to x. This shows up a lot on the test, and we don't want this to be the first time our students see it, so please make sure to embed this throughout your lessons. The questions will be asked like this, or with word problems. So, for example, a word problem with the table. A3C is the big one. It's talking about the graphing and uses the key features: x-intercept, y-intercept, zeros, and slope. Here's one example where they give the zero and the y-intercept and ask for the graph. Another, they're giving 2 points and asking for the slope and the y-intercept. And the third one example that we have, it's a word problem asking for the y-intercept. So if you look through all of these, and this is the one that's showing up 2 to 3 times for each test, it'll be any combination of the key features, graphs, real-world situations. A3A is the supporting standard and is finding the slope through multiple representations or the equations. One example is it's giving 2 points and asking for the slope. It's giving a table asking for the slope, and there's an equation and asking for the slope. Now that we've talked about that, let's get into our lessons. So you should be finishing up on Monday when you're given a point and slope and the 2 points, while making sure to include the key features and multiple representations. Then we'll start a new section with the slope-intercept and the identifying key features. That will last 2 days. And then move on to graphing functions in point-slope form and identifying the key features for 2 days. You may be asking, why do we spend so much time on this supporting standard when it's only been tested 5 times? Well, let's take a look at why. If we look at the actual student expectation, it's saying to determine the slope. Yes, they only ask 1 question each test for determining the slope. But what you'll see more of is A3C with the graphs and the key features, including one of these equations or 2 points on the line, etc. So what they're learning in this SE is used to answer the readiness standard. So let's take a look. Here you're given an equation ask for a graph. Yes, there is an equation, but this actually falls under A3C because of the graph. Here's another equation to graph. Here's a word problem where they need to create an equation in order to interpret the graphs. So these all are A3C questions, but use what's been taught in the supporting standard. Okay, so let's move on to day 1. Now, the way the lesson plan and the scope and sequence is set up is for the high school block scheduling. I know it's kind of hard to figure out how to make turn 90 minutes into 2 45-minute lesson cycles. So the main objective of this video is to help you do that. Now, these are just suggestions, and if you are doing something and it works, by all means, stick to it. These are just suggestions and hopefully can give you ideas or enhance your lessons. So the first day is pretty easy. The warm-up, you can just use that straight up. A good way to introduce the notes is to show the students a graph, or you could do this on a paper. Show the students a graph and have them tell you everything they know about that graph. Make sure to include the academic vocabulary. If they need help, you can put that up on the board and tell them to tell you what they know about this graph using these words. One thing we want to make sure is to teach the students reasonableness. So instead of just telling you what the slope is, ask them to take a look at the slope and is it negative or positive and why. This will help them, again, with reasonableness and checking their answers and in Algebra 2. After that, put up the slope-intercept form. This is actually review from 8th grade. They should be able to tell you this, and if not, this is what you're going to be introducing today. For the notes, again, since you're breaking it into 2 sections, remember that you should only do page 1. Page 1 covers slope-intercept form. And then for the independent practice, same thing. First page is slope-intercept form. Now you can do a couple of the problems and have the students do the rest. Whatever works for you. You can give them the entire sheet. And then for the exit ticket, you can give them this. One thing to be aware of is only the first question is slope-intercept form. You can still give them this and see what they know for when you get to point slope. Up to you. Another option, if you want to have another problem besides one, is to look at the released items on the top of the lesson plan. If you click on this hyperlink, you'll go through A3A. 2019 question 1 has a slope-intercept form question, so you can add both of those. So for day 2, it's going to be a little trickier. You are only given one of these to last you for 4 days. So what you can do is use the same notes, but change the numbers, change the questions. Now that you've already introduced slope-intercept form, you can ask them for the slope, the y-intercept, and then have them write the equation. Okay? For the notes, review them, but now we want to introduce the real-world examples, additional notes. Go through this with them. And to find real-world problems, one thing you can do for independent practice is use this book resource that's shown. This is for Big Ideas Math. And in section 3.5, you'll find tons of word problems. Big Ideas Math is here in the portal. I don't know about you, but for me, I have to type in I can't go through the portal. I have to just type this in, Big Ideas Math, to log in. So again, you can find tons of word problems or even regular problems in there. For the exit ticket, if you're using the Big Ideas Math, at the bottom when you're the closing section, there is a mini assessment that I think is great as is. You can use this. Or you can go to the hyperlink for the release questions, and under A3C 2018 question 27, here's a problem right here that they can use, that they can answer. And here's 2019 question 7, where they have to convert it a little, but there's another equation to graph. So now we start day 1. This is Thursday, and introducing point slope form. This will be new to them. But the good thing is they've already worked on the key features so much that it shouldn't be too hard to incorporate. You can actually probably get this done in one day. So for the warm-up, you can do what you've already practiced with them, showing them a graph and having them answer the questions. Or use the suggestion or the option from the day previous for the exit ticket that you didn't use. So if you use the mini assessment, then you can give the star questions. Or if you use the star questions, give them the mini assessment. I hope that made sense. Now for the notes, it'll be the same ones on the link, except now it's page 2. And for the independent practice, same thing. Page 2 of the independent practice. For the exit ticket, this is the same one that was given. Now it's question number 2. You can use that. Or you can use it both and have this as a review, changing the numbers, whatever you want to do. For day 2, we didn't use everything in here so far. I don't know if you noticed that. But you could use the Desmos activity as a warm-up. This is the point slope. This is all about point slope. And you can either use big ideas or use an engaging activity to kind of review with the students. And what kid doesn't like engaging activities? So one suggestion that you can do for the review activity is play it, say it. All you're really doing is having them do a worksheet out loud. What you start with giving cutting up graph paper, or there's from the second lesson in this unit, there's graph paper provided. Just cut this up, put a stack of graph paper on the desk, and Post-it notes. All you'll do is show an equation and then have the students graph it on the graphing paper, okay? But they cannot yell out the answer. They can't do anything yet. You have to give them thinking time and doing time. So let them all solve it out. When you're done with that, you give your trigger word. Here it's called say it, but whatever works for you. For all the students, slap the answers down onto the desk. And hopefully this is in groups. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that at the beginning. You could do groups of 4, groups of 3, whatever. Slap the answer down, their graph, their Post-it, whatever you have them doing, and yell out the answer. This is the fun part for them that will get them engaged. And have them compare answers with their group and figure out who's correct, who's wrong, how to fix it, etc. So this is an easy way of just showing problems, giving them a chance to have fun. All right, again, give them a stack of cutout graph papers, Post-its on the desk. Display the equation, problem on the board. Now you can have a graph and ask them, what is the slope? So again, you're just posting problems on the board. They're solving it on paper. And then once you give them the trigger word, they're slamming it down in the group and compare answers. So a fun way to get a worksheet done, and also having them work with each other. So that's a way to close the week. Then they have the long weekend, and then they'll start standard equations next week. Again, these are just suggestions on how to cover the point slope and slope intercept form from that 90-minute block into the 4 days that it's on your scope and sequence. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, my extension is 28762, or you can email me at mwilliams10@mesquiteisd.org. Don't forget, we will have the office hours where you can, we'll have a Zoom where you can ask questions in person, and that information will be shared with you. Thank you. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video.
Thank you so much for watching this video over the content that you'll teach in your classroom on the week of September the 19th. We hope that what you've learned here will help you be a contributing member to your PLCs the week of September 12th. In order to help us better serve you in the future and to let us know that you watched this video, please fill out the survey using the QR code on the left or the link that you see on your screen. Thank you again so much, and we are really looking forward to hearing about all the great things that are happening in your classroom.